Oh my goodness. Hello, it's just gone 10 pm. This is episode 5 of MesmePolitics. It's Sunday night, and my name is Toby Lepati Mesme. I hope you're doing okay. So, coming up, the right wing lunatics at the top of the Labour Party, a potential leadership challenge, the Tories rigging the electoral process after a couple of contests, Metro Mayor contests, have left them with egg on their face. The reshuffle, the ongoing Labour reshuffle, and at the top of the show, the Angela Rayner drama. So, Angela Rayner is not an individual to whom the left has great affection. She was a strong performer during the Corbyn era. She, remained pretty loyal throughout the whole thing. There were a lot of people sort of briefing this, that, and the other during the Corbyn era. Rayner actually got her head down and did the work, and I absolutely respect her for that. And she has a fascinating life story, working class background. Take her any day over some of the Silver Spoon Blairites. However, she's, under Starmer, capitulated, engaged in demonisation of members, basically said we're going to cull the membership. Labour members are all racists. You think I'm exaggerating? That's basically what was insinuated. It was insinuated that a mass bulk of them are racists, something not held up in any data. And if I was a Labour member, not anymore, I'd be fuming. But anyway, this is from The Guardian. Keir Starmer's leadership of the Labour Party was plunged into crisis as a plan to demote his deputy, Angela Rayner, was derailed by a backlash from her supporters, leading to a prolonged standoff. So here's what's happened. So she's chair of the party. She was running the election operations. Apparently, it was actually very close to Keir Starmer's office. She's felt overshadowed. Obviously, she's got a mandate, just as Starmer has, to be deputy leader. She's felt overshadowed. Now, Labour are hemorrhaging seats in the north. What did they do? Well, these silver spoon southern middle class types apparently, allegedly, took issue with how she sounds, that she wore leopard print trousers once, that she's apparently disloyal, this crazed paranoia, and they decided northern working class woman, came from a background of care, single mother at 16, really fascinating life story, really genuine and authentic. Whenever her politics, a really genuine and memorable communicator when you put her on TV. We're going to demote her, scapegoat her for these election results. This is the likes of Keir Starmer, Peter Mandelson, these clueless, silver-spooned idiots at Lotto who think this is the right thing to do. I'm no great fan of Angela Rayner, nor am I Lisa Nandy that was briefing against her. If you think sacking working-class northern women is your solution to this dilemma, I don't know what you're on. I really don't. It's bizarre. Dire performance for Labour. Okay, we're blaming it on Angela Rayner. Andy Burnham says this isn't okay. He's positioned himself against this, saying he can't support the sacking of Angela Rayner. Labour sent Ian Murray on the TV this morning, sort of desperately trying to defend this move. John McDonnell says, I made it clear on Ma this morning that the scapegoat sacking of Angie Rayner contradicted everything Keir Starmer said only 48 hours ago about taking personal responsibility for election defeats and his promise a year ago that he would unite the party. So it does look like John McDonnell is finally getting off his arse and standing up, which is good to see. Really just, terrible, terrible politics here. There's a reshuffle going on. But Angela Rayner, she's got a power base, okay? Angela Rayner has a power base. Who could unseat Keir Starmer and potentially win a leadership election? Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner. What are they playing at, right? All they've got is the Labour right on its own is not strong enough to sustain itself, okay? If it's just the Labour right, which seems to be what's happening, you alienate the centre, leftish, soft left, and the left. That's a pretty potent coalition. The only thing holding back Keir Starmer's, resignation is a clear candidate that these people would unite around. However, disaster, absolute disaster, this. We seem to be talking about sacking working class northerners, not John Trickett, he's already gone, but folks like that, Andy McDonald, these sort of people, we're going to get rid of them. Cat Smith, going to get rid of them. Working class northern MPs, what are you playing at? Ian Lavery says Labour is still paying the price for backing a second Brexit referendum. Who's running the show now? We're under new management, trying to fix the thing. It's the people who decided the second referendum would be a good idea, purging the people who thought it wouldn't be. Absolutely bizarre. We'll be on to the reshuffle in a minute, but bottom line, Angela Rayner is now holding the Labour leadership hostage. She's getting a new role. She's held them over the barrel over this. So's Lisa Nandy. Keir Starmer has no political capital left, and he's decided to piss off everyone who's been loyal to him. I don't know what he's playing at. He now is very much Labour's Ian Duncan Smith. Although that being said, Ian Duncan Smith actually made big gains for the Tories at local elections under New Labour. So he's not even Labour's Ian Duncan Smith. He's Labour's Wurzel Gummidge. So moving on, complete lunatics, as I say, at the top of the Labour Party. These right-wingers, you've got Peter Mandelson saying we've got to, ditch party unity. Various people saying ditch party unity. Someone calling John McDonnell an old communist. Who the hell are they? They're an MP. No, I don't even remember their name. That's how forgettable and vacuous they really are, and how pointless they are. But we also see, pointless politically, I have no clue what they're like as an individual. Don't want to make this personal, but we've got that. We've got, talking about we've got to rein in the unions. This is really sort of, these people, they're political scarecrows from the 1990s. People want radical economic policy. The Tories are now to the left of Labour on economic policy. Talk to anyone. What does Labour need to do? Sure, maybe in some ways they need to appear more moderate in terms of image. Don't shout about being radical. A flag here or there. Fine. But they've been running on right-wing culture issues and they've ditched left-wing economic policy. Do you know what the one thing most of the public can agree on? Left-wing economic policies, they don't call them left-wing, but if you just put those policies out there, they bloody like them. It's just about the only thing that held up Labour's vote share in 2019. You think Labour would be doing better if it did everything the same, but without radical policies? My God, they'd be on 20%. It would have been, down to a rump of 120 seats or something. The only thing that held up Labour's vote in 2019, to the extent it did, right, 32%, considering what they did on Brexit, pretty generous from the public. I mean, you want to see what that would look like without a national care service, without free broadband? What do you think it would have looked like? It would have been chaos. That election was a disaster. What we're seeing now is much worse. We're seeing, 29% nationally for Labour in this? Something like 40% for the Tories? We'll delve into the figures more in depth tomorrow, obviously. More election stuff going on. But we're really, West Yorkshire mayoral contest, that's happening. That was won, which means there will be a by-election. So Tracy Brabin has got that, 60% of the popular vote. There'll be a by-election in Batley and Spen. A lot of people in Labour circles saying if Keir Starmer loses that, should be harder to lose than Hartlepool, then, of course, the response will have to be a leadership challenge. It's very tricky to see who could do that. Andy Burnham, he could do it and he could be Prime Minister. Angela Rayner, she could do it. I don't know if she's got the chops to be Prime Minister. Maybe she will. But you shouldn't underestimate what a shit show running that party would be. And how much fire you'd come under. She's not been an MP for that long. Neither's Keir Starmer. That's why he's doing so terribly. Who else? John McDonnell. He's a technocrat. Probably the only person in Labour right now with the chops to actually lead the thing and run a government. Could he win a general election? Could he rehabilitate Labour's image? I have no clue. But in terms of actually governing, in terms of winning an election, you want Andy Burnham. In terms of governing, you want John McDonnell. In terms of interviews, you want Angela Rayner, right? Or some sort of amalgamation of Lisa Nandy and Angela Rayner. You don't want Lisa Nandy or Angela Rayner anywhere near policy. Because, Lisa Nandy's policies, our views on policy, rancid. We've also got sort of a mini, not constitutional coup, an electoral coup going on. So the government is going to change the English voting system after mayoral victories for Labour, switching to first past the post, making it easier for the Tories to win. Disaster for, really good in London, right? Sadiq Khan wins, but they allow that people could register their discontent with the Greens, weaken Khan, but then have him as a second preference. He wins. Sean Bailey doesn't get anywhere near City Hall. That's what you want to see. Doing this, it's a disaster for the Greens, disaster for the Liberal Democrats, helps the Tories, They're throwing their toys out the pram because Labour are winning in some places, but taking places from them where they've got MPs in the south, in the so-called blue wall, which isn't enough to win a general election. It isn't enough to replace the red wall, but it is a long-term trend in Labour's favour that bodes very well in the longer term. Names that we've heard when it comes to a reshuffle, really upsetting would be the word. Rachel Reeves is now Shadow Chancellor. This is someone who said they wanted to be tougher on benefits than the Tories. This is someone who... Well, they want to be tougher on benefits than the Tories. This is someone who said Labour shouldn't be the party for people on benefits. This is someone who's shown contempt for working people, contempt for anything remotely progressive. Peter Mandelson is apparently signing off on the lines the Labour Party is putting out there. A fossil with no relevance to 21st century politics. He shouldn't be anywhere near this. No one cares what Peter Mandelson has to say, apart from apparently Keir Starmer. So you've got Rachel Reeves, Shadow Chancellor. Economically, this means Labour is now to the right of the Conservative Party. And if you put me in a straight fight, do you want Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak, or do you want Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves? I'm voting Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. They're to the left of these people, right? You've made it hard. Do you understand what I'm saying here, right? What would I do in an election right now? If there's a Green candidate, I'd vote Green. If there's a progressive Lib Dem, maybe I'd vote Lib Dem. Socialist Independent, Trade Union Socialist Coalition, vote for them, fine. Any leftish independents, left-wing Labour candidate, sure, you've got my vote. But if you put a hand-picked Labour HQ candidate, approved by Rachel Reeves and Peter Mandelson, or you put me, a sort of blueprint interventionist red wall Tory, I'm voting for the blueprint interventionist red wall Tory, okay? That's what I'm doing. That's how dire this is, right? There was a massive opportunity to push. Why are the Tories doing so many things that are nominally progressive on the economy? I'll tell you why. National crisis, but because Jeremy Corbyn won the debate on spending and the role of the state. It's happening all over the world. Look at Joe Biden. He understands. You want to govern seriously? Look at this Peter Mandelson, lifelong right-wing politician, supporting trade unions, won't say a bad word about the left. Bernie Sanders has got a big role. Who are these people that think this isn't what you've got to do, right? Rachel Reeves, disaster, okay? Labour has lost badly, and they're now consolidating a right-wing power base. Other names we're hearing about: Yvette Cooper, Hilary Benn, warmongering right-wing demagogues who have a disastrous record on foreign policy. Everything they called everything wrong, and on the domestic economy, they're more neoliberal than your average Tory MP. This is completely beyond the pale, in my opinion. Despicable, horrendous, and I think, across the board, we're seeing. I mean, what are we doing here, right? We're gonna, we don't like working class people. We don't like leavers. Getting rid of them. We're going to win over leavers with arch remainers who also second referendum, who called it wrong on every single foreign policy issue. What are you doing? So Annalise Dodds is party chair. She didn't have a power base, but she was of the soft left. That's the compromise candidate gone. She was terrible, but much better than Rachel Reeves. Rachel Reeves, whatever her communication skills, she is a right-wing demagogue on domestic issues. Angela Rayner, Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Fine. I don't mind that, but it's clearly she's demanded this. I mean, good for her that she's accepted something. Wes Streeting, new brief on child poverty. This is Wes Streeting. Again, massively right-wing individual. Massively right-wing individual politically. Really out of step with most of the Labour MPs are out of step with most Labour voters, but also out of step with Labour members and other Labour MPs on these sort of things. So yeah, Rachel Reeves, Shadow Chancellor. I mean, what? So this is from Novara Media. As Keir Starmer's Shadow Cabinet reshuffle continues, Rachel Reeves has been promoted to Shadow Chancellor. Vowed Labour would be tougher on benefits than the Conservative Party. I mean, what? What is this? Right? Lisa Nandy stays in place. Disastrous, again, but fine. There are about 36 Socialist Campaign Group MPs. You need about 42, 43 to trigger a leadership challenge. I think if this by-election doesn't go well for Labour, I think we have to. They have to get rid of this guy. Be it Andy Burnham, be it John McDonnell. This is all-out war now. War is being declared by the right of the party and the rest of the party on progressive politics in Britain. Anyone who, it's about sides now. We'll see what happens, but Labour is now in a position that I would not vote for it if you paid me. Okay, you'd have it, and you'd have a job persuading me to vote Tory after the way they fucked the country for the last, for 10 years. But then Thatcher, basically every time they've been in power, they fucked the country. But you'd have a job on convincing me to vote Tory. You'd convince me easier than convincing me to vote for this shambles at Lotto at the moment. Labour are going to lose seats the next election. They deserve to. They're shitting on their voters. And, they're out of touch with politics in the 21st century. That is it from me for today. We'll be back with much more for you tomorrow. This has been MesmePolitics. My name is Toby Le Petit Mesme. Solidarity. I'll see you soon.